Sunday Sound Off with Frank Boal.
Welcome back to Sunday Sound Off and our first hot topic of the night. If the Royals decide to buy, who becomes trade bait? Cuthbert? Dozier? Someone else? TJ? Who's on your list?
Well, I think Dozier, if they're to buy, I think he makes the most sense. He's raking right now in the minor leagues, and I think that obviously from what we've seen from Dozier so far, he's that obvious candidate. But, I think that if they become buyers, I mean, they don't have a whole lot in the minor league system, so then it becomes a question of who exactly are you willing to part with on the current team. And I don't know if they're really willing to do that. It hasn't been their MO. So as Blair said earlier, I think if they do become buyers, you're going to see some really minor pieces added, not any major moves.
Yeah, and Blair, you said before, you think they should, forge forward with what they've got basically. So, but if they did go out and say, we really do need a pitcher, who do they give up?
Well, that is the question. And isn't it interesting that I think Ned Yost mentioned it the other day, they brought back the idea of the third base tree.
Yes.
Producing.
That doesn't exist.
It does. And, the Royals, we were all wondering what was going to happen when Mike Moustakas went down. And it turns out Cheslor Cuthbert, they've gotten to the All-Star break with Cuthbert. That position has yielded, I think, 15 home runs and, has been very productive for the Royals. So, look, a name I failed to mention earlier, Josh Willingham. Remember him on, from 2014
right.
and his contributions toward the end. Cuthbert would be I guess that's the easiest one to identify for me right now. If they want to look at Dozier and bring him up, but look, I'm not. Moose is out for the season. I think you got to have Cuthbert there at third, and I'm still in the ad mode right now, and not trade mode.
Sren, you are in the trade mode,
yeah.
So this really wouldn't. But if they decide
right.
we're going to go out and get somebody, what do you think?
Well, and this is the problem, and that, for those like Blair that want to add to the team, which I think is worthwhile. This team has shown incredible resiliency, and let me make clear, I will not be upset if they try to add to this team, because they have been so tough, and every time you start to count them out, they come back. So they've been absolutely fantastic. So let me make clear, I will not be upset if they try to add to this team. It's just not the direction that I would go. But I think we've at least gotten past the days of like, well, okay, well, who are you going to trade? Well, we'll take Angel Baroa and Mitch Meyer and a bag of balls, and then we'll get Derek Jeter. Okay? We at least as a fan base, having seen Zach Greinke traded off and Will Myers, the number one prospect in baseball, traded off, and seen how real trades work, I think we understand you got to give up something to get something. Now, if you're going to do the Josh Willinghams and the Jason Fraziers and the Liam Hendricks, you can throw some guys that are kind of prospects, maybe could be some things, and do something like that. And that's probably what I'd be in favor of. But I think this team needs more help. So if you're really going to go for it, you're going to have to give something up. That means you're going to have to give up like a Matt Strahm, who's probably their top pitching prospect in the system right now, a talented young left-hander. You're probably going to have to give up Raul Mondesi. You're going to have to understand that you're just not going to have a shortstop under contract in 2 years. Look, you got to keep Escobar because he's the guy that can play right now. You got to keep Cuthbert because he's got to play right now. So Dozier, Strahm, Mondesi, these are the names you've got to talk about if you're going to go get something of substance to help this team right now.
All right, here's our second hot topic of the evening. Should the Chiefs give Eric Berry a long-term contract? Blair, what do you think?
Well, here's what I don't understand. In March, Clark Hunt said yes, well, they want to bring Eric Berry back and make
right.
him happy. And Eric Berry the other day says, he wants to be a Chief for a long time and doesn't understand why it's taking this long. And Chiefs teammates are all saying that the locker room's not the same without Eric Berry. All signs point to Eric Berry signing a long-term deal with the Chiefs. Why hasn't it happened yet? I suspect it's going to happen here soon. By Friday, by the 15th, I think we'll see Eric Berry long-term with the Chiefs.
Seren, do you think that'll happen?
Well, we announced on Friday during the program that at 3 o'clock, that's when you wave the green flag on the race really beginning between Eric Berry. Everybody needs a deadline to get everything done. There was no reason to get anything done for either side until we get down to this last week. So we're in the middle of it now. Progress will be made. I think the bottom line is this. Will we get a deal done? I think so. I don't think Clark Hunt goes on record as saying that unless that's really what he wants to do. But if they don't, Let's be clear here. They went to got down to the franchise tag and played under a year with Dwayne Bowe, ultimately signed him, although the franchise tag wasn't put on by this regime. They put the franchise tag on Brandon Albert. He played 1 year and was gone. The Chiefs have been thin at safety. This could be, if they don't get the long-term deal done, one more and the door for Eric Berry. If the question is for me, would I do the deal? No, I think it's too big a cap hit for a position that doesn't turn the ball over, doesn't impact the game enough. I think it's too big a number. I think the Chiefs will do it, that being said.
TJ.
At the right price, they should sign Eric Berry. But the question is, what's that right price? It's certainly not $10 million a year or what would make him the highest paid safety in the NFL. Because if he is the highest paid safety in the NFL, that wouldn't really help them in their cap situation this year. That also means that he's probably not going to accept the right deal at the right price. And that means he is a one-year-and-done player, which is what he should be. People say he's a top-5 safety. I don't see it. He doesn't turn the ball over. He has a couple of run-stopping abilities, but look at him against tight ends. Look at that play against Rob Gronkowski in the playoffs and tell me that's a guy who's a top-5 safety in the league. We all like Eric Berry, and that's why he's probably going to get a long-term deal. He's a popular player with an incredible story, and that should not be disregarded. But as a football player, I don't think he deserves a major deal.
Okay, now to our final hot topic. You know, Notre Dame is now rescheduling Michigan. They had a bad breakup when they did that. They're going to tear up the contract and get them back together by 2018. Texas and Texas A&M are working our future games. They hated each other with the breakup. When are we going to see MU and KU, Seren? Come on.
You know, we're probably, another bad year for Missouri away from seeing it. Both these schools have to have Power 5 league games on their schedule. And it gets a lot easier for Kansas to schedule Missouri if Missouri's not good. And we know Kansas is a mere speed bump for Missouri the way it's gone here in recent years. I think if both of them have disappointing seasons this year, and we know that's a different level of disappointment for both Missouri, who's picked right in the middle of the east of the SEC, and certainly KU, which is picked at the bottom. I think that enhances the chances because both teams look at it. KU has a chance to get a win against Missouri. Missouri has a chance to get an easy win against Kansas, and it makes a lot of fans happy. You know, the key, though, if we're going to get the whole thing going, is to get basketball back on the schedule, and that's not going to happen. Bill Self has been the roadblock there. But football, I think, is a lot more likely, and I think you pointed to two big rivalries that should have Kansas and Missouri alumni money people saying we should play this game.
You bet. All right, TJ.
Yeah, I'm glad Seren mentioned basketball, because if basketball's the question, then the answer is when hell freezes over. But if it's football, it's doable, right? Because maybe in the next 5 years, David Beatty gets something going, and he doesn't feel like he would be embarrassed if he loses to Missouri. It's a good game because it creates promotion for both programs, and they can use it for a recruiting tactic. And people want to see it. People forget sometimes, and I don't understand why. College football is about rivalry, and there are few rivalries better, if any, certainly for the Midwest, than KU-MU. So I think it should happen. I think everybody wants to see it happen, and football is the arena where it has to happen if it's going to happen at all.
Blair, what do you think?
Well, the games that you mentioned, Michigan, Notre Dame, Texas, Texas A&M, and I'll throw in Pitt, West Virginia. They're
right.
also talking about getting back together again, the backyard brawl, are all steeped in history, and those rivalries are football centric. Missouri, Kansas, border war is less so. People forget those first two games at Arrowhead were fantastic. The 2-3 game in 2007, and then the game in the snow in 2008. The next three were terrible. They're one-sided. Kansas fans hardly showed up at Arrowhead, and then they canceled the 6 because that's when Missouri went to the SEC.
Right.
That series was actually going to return back to campus sites after the 6-year period. It's not going to happen anytime soon. Kansas doesn't want it to happen. TJ's wrong. Not everybody wants to see it. Kansas doesn't want to see it. And look, Kansas in football right now, Kansas-Missouri football game, who would want to see that? And Missouri basketball with Kansas, I'm not terribly interested in that game either. You know, they really have to start being on the same level for I think there to be any interest in that rivalry.
See, TJ, you're always wrong. Remember that, okay?
Always. Yeah.
All right, folks, we're going to coming up next, we'll get some final thoughts from the panel. It'll be their chance to sound off. That's next.
Hey.